Hello, and welcome to the Other 14 FC podcast. I'm Alex, Crystal Palace fan.
And I'm Tom, a West Ham fan.
And this is your podcast for everything not top six. Tired of your team being last in match of the day and not getting the flowers they deserve. Well, that's about to change. Tom, what do we have for listeners this week?
The book is closed on the 2025-26 Premier League season. It's time to welcome back in one case, the new boys to this season's Other 14. With a little help from some friends, we're diving into Coventry City, Ipswich Town and Hull City. Disclaimer, this is recorded a couple of weeks before release as Alex has to go to America to eat his body weight in fried food again.
Yeah, smoked food and barbecue food. That'll be it. But yeah, what do you have to yell at clouds about this week?
Well, so at the time of recording, I've just come off the back of 4 gigs in 4 nights. And the first arena gig that I've actually think I've ever been to, because I just have always had this feeling that they weren't going to be particularly good. Like, you're going to be like, it's such a big vast bowl that's like doesn't really promote music very well. I like small intimate gigs and that. But I went to see My Chemical Romance at Wembley, and my angry thing, which was amazing, incredible night, but they've started selling front standing and back standing now. And just that goes against every grain of my body. Like, standing is for the committed people. If you want to stand at the front, you get there early, you queue up hours before. If you're not that bothered, you come in late, you mingle around, the mosh happens, like you can sort of come and go as you please sort of thing. Selling a front standing just to get a bit more money out of people is just something I absolutely detest about modern gigs and arena gigs. So whilst the gig was amazing, I just can't believe we're now in a world where we're selling 2 different prices for standing at a gig.
Yeah, they had that at Metallica as well, but it was a bit different when I went. So to be in, they called it the Snake Pit, which is like, I don't know if you saw a stage, it's like a circle stage, and then people in the middle of it. But to be in there, you had to be a Metallica member with some sort of loyalty like points or system, which a bit crazy, but I think that's a bit better than just making a price, isn't it? For
and at least with the from what I saw, the circle was like in the middle of the stadium sort of thing, so like the outside areas, the views weren't that bad, whereas like at Wembley Stadium, it was at basically where one of the goals was the main stand, and then there was a smaller stand slightly further forward, but still in that front standing area. So like the main gig was all done at the end of the end of one stand, and it was like that. So the view lines weren't particularly good for and what I was expecting for an arena anyway. But
yeah, did you get fireworks shot at you at that as well? What I saw on Instagram.
They did fire like horizontal fireworks that went from like one section to another. There was like a thing that caught the firework from not going into the crowd, but like when it happened, I was like, was that meant to happen? Because that went like horizontal, and I'm not used to seeing fireworks being fired at people. But yeah, it was an amazing gig, and that. No. What about you? What are you angry about?
Argentinians. Probably leave it at that.
By the way, we're recording the day after England have been dumped out by Lionel Messi and co.
Yeah, sorry to bring that back up for anyone listening. But yeah, I imagine if anyone was new to this podcast, they'd be like, what are these fucking idiots talking about? Concerts and shit. Where's the football? Well, it's going to come up right after this break, I guess.
Let's do it.
So just before we go in to talk about Coventry, we very kindly had Adam, a Coventry fan, send a voice note into us, so we thought we'd just put that in here before we start rambling, because he's probably going to give you better information than we have on Coventry altogether. So take it away.
All right, fellas, just some voice notes for you on the questions. So the first one was, how was last season? I would say last season was just an absolutely unforgettable experience for us. Seeing us at the top of the league for so long, all the time waiting for us to Coventry it up at some point and throw it away was just absolutely nerve-wracking. It felt like seeing us at the end of the season lifting the trophy, but it was like the end of a cycle, so the end of that 25 years of just absolute nonsense that's occurred at the club. Unbelievable scenes at the end of the season. Some of the results and the performances through the season in itself were absolutely spectacular. And then you add into the mix as well we weren't expecting it, but buying our own ground, that announcement, then the result that day as well. It was just the absolute dream season for every Coventry fan. Ridiculous, absolutely class. Second one, player to watch for next season. There's a couple to pick from, but I think the biggest one with the most potential is Jack Rodoni. So he suffered with a recurring shoulder injury last season, so he wasn't at his best. But he's had surgery on it now. If he comes back anywhere near full fitness, he's definitely Premier League quality. You can tell Frank's influence with him. It's apparent in his game and how his game's evolved and changed since Frank came into the club. He's got absolutely bags of talent and potential. He can score headers, he can score from distance, he can dribble past people, he creates chances, he gets assists. If the injury problem's are over, he could be an absolute star in the Premier League next year. Last one was how do I think we'll do? My heart says next season, the team spirit and the camaraderie and everything that we built up last season and that feel good round the squad. My heart says it'd be absolutely amazing if they could go on a run and keep us up in the Premier League. However, brain time and thinking about it, as much as I love our squad, I just can't see three other sides that we're better than, or three sides that have squads that are worse than ours. Depends on signings, but I think next season will be the usual Coventry story. We'll give it a real good go and end in heroic failure with relegation. Cheers, fellas.
And we're back. So, what team do you want to start with then, Tom?
Let's go with Coventry City. Promoted, the biggest story of the promoted three, like as like a sort of. I don't think you can talk about Coventry without talking about the last 25 years.
I definitely can't. I mean, ups and downs, to say the least. I mean, I thought Palace had it rough going through administrations and everything, but I think Coventry fans have had it a lot worse than most football clubs in the last 25 years, really.
Yeah, 100%. Should we run through the storyline? So, Coventry were relegated from the Premier League in 2001. They dropped as far low down as League Two in 2017. At various points, they were playing home matches at Northampton or Birmingham Stadium.
That's crazy, isn't it? Like, that's absolutely mental. Can you imagine?
I remember that happening and being like, man, I feel so sorry for Cov fans that they just don't have a home at that time. Like, I think I watched a really good documentary on YouTube about it, about the whole 25 years essentially, just quite sort of boiled it down to things, and I think some Coventry fans actually look back at it with a bit of positivity because I think it forced sort of the club into new ownership and things like that. So whilst it was obviously probably really, really, really tough to go through at the time, and they can look back on it now with a little bit of like, at least they come out of it the other side, or like in a positive way, because very, very easily could have kept getting worse, and they could have gone like in administration at points. So
it's mental. It feels like London Wasps are playing more games at the Sky Blue Stadium than Coventry were, and that's another team that's now collapsed and everything. It's weird how that was kind of like a epicenter of bad financial decisions.
The Rico Arena.
Yeah.
The bad vibes of the Rico Arena. And then Mark Robbins led them back from League Two, made it to the Championship playoffs. He got them to the FA Cup semi-final against Man United. They won League One during COVID season, so the fans couldn't celebrate even when they'd finally got their moment of glory. And then they were on the end of what we've referenced quite a few times over the last year, the Dan Ballard header for Sunderland. Like they were on the receiving end of that, and yeah, props to Frank Lampard for getting them up.
You just wouldn't believe Frank Lampard would have got a team up. I mean, it's a bit mean, ain't it? But he weren't pulling up trees at Everton or Chelsea, was he? Let's be honest.
No. I mean, it's one of those that like he did pretty well at Derby, but then he had some decent players on loan at Derby and it was a bit like, all right, well, let's see. And then the Chelsea thing is just a bit strange. Like, I don't really know how you analyse that Chelsea era, because they had a transfer ban under him. He was kind of just brought in to steady the ship during that time, and
He did do quite well off that transfer ban, didn't he? Did he get him Champions
Yeah,
League or something? I think. So
yeah. I think
maybe
they finished in Champions League.
that's probably the what highest. Well, until getting Coventry promoted, that was probably the highest star on his CV. Would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think his Everton time was it was a marriage made in hell sort of thing. I don't think that the Everton fans ever really took to him, and I don't think he necessarily endeared himself to them. But
Yeah.
kind of, he kept them up one season. I think that was maybe the season that you were at the final game, was it?
Yeah. Well, I broke my leg celebrating Mateta's second goal.
Nice.
Yeah. So stupid. So stupid. But yeah, I mean, and then what else did they have leading up to this as well? They had the FA Cup semi-final that we watched after Palace battered West Ham in the pub. Is that correct?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They were very, very unlucky to get knocked out by Man United in that semi-final because there was a goal that was like offside by like a millimeter sort of thing. It was a really tough one. But looking at them from last season and digging into how they won the championship, like I think that sort of one thing that comes out from watching some games and that is that they don't necessarily they're not embedded with one style of play. Like they don't just they're not like right we have to dominate the ball, or they're not like right we just sit back and hit on the counter sort of thing. They can be quite flexible. They can sort of do everything without forcing or being married to one style of play. Like they can play direct or they can play possession based. Like when you're top of the championship, more often than not teams might sit back on you, so you are sort of forced to play in a possession based style, and you've got to come up with the answers to break down some low blocks. But I also think that maybe this Coventry team wasn't necessarily deemed as the one that were just going to run away with the title. So the sort of more ambitious sides in the championship were like, rather that, well, we're not going to sit back against you, like Middlesbrough, for example, like Ipswich and that we're not going to sit back against you. We're going to take the game to you. And in those games, Coventry were able to play a more defensive but hit on the counter, maybe mix it up, go route one a little bit every now and then to find answers to win in those games. Like there was one game against Middlesbrough in the run-in that was really, really key for them. They were on a 3-game spell without winning, which I know isn't a lot, but when you're at the top of the league and they had their couple of teams on their heels at that point,
Well,
that's a bit of a
it was like they were running away with it, and then they had a minor hiccup, which still ended up not being that close in the end, did it? From memory.
Well, yeah, it was that game against Middlesbrough that you're thinking of, that their backs were against the wall. They were getting pelted. Like Middlesbrough were sort of camped around Coventry's box, and they were creating attacks, going for an equaliser in that game, and then a route one ball up to Hadji Wright sort of unlocked the defence, and he managed to get a goal, and then after that they went on a tear, sort of winning 8 of the next 9. So it was a real catalyst to them getting over the line, because I'm sure Coventry fans were thinking after that mini wobble, like, oh no, is it going to happen again? Like, are we going to drop down into third and then the lottery of the playoffs sort of thing? But that win kind of gave them the boost that they needed to see the title over the line and get automatic promotion.
Yeah, I gave them stability for the rest of the season. Who are some of the players that stand out for you, I think, from last season, and who should people be worried about before we move on to transfers and stuff?
There's sort of 3 players. I mean, with all of the promoted teams, you look at them and you go, they're going to need a lot to stay up. Like we saw sort of Leeds and Sunderland last season make quite a few changes to stay up. The one player that is definitely someone that I think they'll build around is Jack Rudoni, the attacking midfielder. He really, really gives me Kiernan Dewsbury Hall vibes. Like, he's quite tall for an attacking midfielder, but loves an eye for a goal or like a key pass. Like, he doesn't, like, he's not the diminutive number 10 that you see that is sort of so famous in that role. But similar to Dewsbury Hall, he picks up the right positions in and around the box, but then also gets stuck in on the defensive side. Like, you could see with a bit of training, he could play sort of like more central midfield sort of thing. Like, I think Rudoni has that sort of ability. but they have it. They generally play him as the 10. So I think he's someone that we'll see how he adapts to the step up. But that's a young, talented player that I think could catch a few eyes for Coventry this season.
That's what they're going to need, really, isn't it? A bit of a spine, someone in the middle, like not bossing the game completely, but if you've got someone going both ways, like a Ipswich Hull, that set you in kind of good stead, doesn't it?
I think he'll be one of those players that he might struggle in some games, like the physicality of the Premier League might knock him off his game, or like just that step up in quality. He might not get the chances available to him, but then I think he will show at times the quality that he possesses. Another player in the midfield that I'm probably more skeptical about making the transition into the Premier League is Matt Grimes. And I'm sure it's a name that many know well. Like, I feel like he's been linked to a other 14 Premier League team for the past 5-6 seasons, sort of thing. Like, I'm sure Palace have been linked with him. West Ham definitely have.
How are you not making a Frank Grimes joke? Oh, grimy.
That's what you're here for. But yeah, like Matt Grimes, an absolute championship stalwart. Like, he has played so many games and is so comfortable at that level. He had the most touches and most passes in the championship last season. I just have a feeling he'll end up in a similar vein to Flynn Downs, where maybe the Premier League is just a bit too much for him, and he's 30 now as well, so it's like he probably would have wanted him to be a little bit younger. Maybe his experience will help, but having not played in the Premier League, that might be an area that Coventry are looking to replenish. And I know they signed Frank Onyeka, who was on loan there last season, sort of played with Grimes, so they might be looking at replacing Grimes if he's unlucky not to get a chance to prove himself at this level.
So it'd be quite an old midfield. Well, not old, but wouldn't be the youngest midfield then, would it? With a 28-year-old and a 30. What's Matt Grimes, 30?
I think Matt Grimes is 30. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see about that one. He is a proper championship journeyman, isn't he? Nearly 400 appearances in the championship. It's
exactly. He's been linked. Like, he was at Swansea. I think he was maybe at QPR, but like he's been at Coventry for a couple of seasons now. Like, he's absolutely proven his chops at championship level. It's time to see whether he can do it at Prem.
Would you have said Dan Ballard would have made a great Premier League centre back?
No, but Dan Ballard came from Arsenal academy stock. When he was coming through as an academy prospect, there was a lot of hope for Dan Ballard, and he's younger than Matt Grimes. Like, I think, I can't remember how old Dan Ballard is, but
yeah,
26. He's entering his prime, sort of thing. Like, he's got the legs to make that step up to the Premier League a little bit easier than Matt Grimes probably does at his age.
Yeah. Being pretty ageist right now.
I mean, we're both past our 30s, so it's like that meme of watching the World Cup, and they're like, it's a miracle he's running at 36. Like,
I can't run at 31.
And then my last player that I'd be interested to see if he gets a chance again, and two, what he can do with it if he does, is Haji Wright, the American forward. For Coventry, he's a bit of an everything forward. Like, I think he can do almost everything you would ask. Like, he's showing good target man ability, can hold up the ball, he can make runs in behind, he's got some pace about him, he's got good touch. Like, that first touch shouldn't let him down very often, sort of thing. And he scored 17 goals last season in the league. So I've had an eye on him for a few years, probably because I saw him come across him in my FIFA playing years a few years ago, sort of thing. But he's someone that I've been impressed when I've seen them at times, and then wanting to see prove himself at a higher level. So I'm curious to see, one, if Haji Wright gets the chance to prove himself, or if Coventry end up looking in the market for a Premier League level striker, and then if Haji Wright does get the chance, if he can prove himself.
Yeah, I think it's a hard one, isn't it? Knowing how do you bring a striker in as a newly promoted team you go for like a Callum Wilson or someone, don't you? Unfortunately, you've got to
Well,
pay the wages.
you look at Leeds last season. Joel Pirro was, I want to say, top scorer in the Championship, if not there or thereabouts. And they realised what I said last season in this podcast, where I don't think he's necessarily a Premier League level player, and they went out and got Calvert-Lewin, and that paid absolute dividends for them, because fair play to Joel Pirro, like coming on for 10 minutes at the end of game is really hard to impact it, but whenever he did, he didn't really impact it very much. So their decision to go out and get Calvert-Lewin was absolutely like that one of the main reasons that kept them up. If they had gone down the loyal route of being like, well, Pirro got us here with his goals, let's give him like the chance, like, for longer than a few games at the start of the season, maybe it wouldn't have ended up as comfortable for Leeds as it did.
Yeah, good point, to be fair. Yeah, you just got to take that gamble, I guess. So, what do you make? Well, we've already talked about one of their signings coming in. They've also signed. How do you pronounce the Burnley geezer's name?
Jackson Chachua.
Chachua, there we go. Brought him in from Burnley. I think that's a good signing from him, or not?
It's an interesting one. I don't think he was that impressive for Burnley last season, so I hesitate to say that he'll make that much of an impact for Coventry.
Feels a bit like that, doesn't it? It feels like you kind of can pick him up, so why not? And just see what can come of it. But
yeah, I mean they'll make more signings between now and the end of the transfer window. Like they have to. Like I've mentioned it a couple of times, but we've seen, different to last summer when we did this podcast and we were coming off the back of 2 seasons where the promoted 3 had gone straight back down. Sorry. Sunderland and Leeds have set the blueprint. They have upped the physicality in their teams. They have got tactical flexibility. They can bully teams off the ball when they need to. They can play with the ball when they need to. They can defend their goal with their backs to the wall. They get pace on the attack, sort of thing. Like, we now have evidence of two recently promoted teams making a fist of staying up and ending up staying up quite comfortably. So I think that's just what you have to look at. You just have to look at upping the physicality and having sort of some tactical flexibility, because it is difficult. You go from a top of the league championship team where you're facing low blocks most of the time, you've got most of the ball, to the Premier League where majority of the games you won't have most of the ball, and you get your moments are few and far between, sort of thing.
But
you've got to be physically.
We see that problem with so many teams coming up. But if you're saying that Coventry can go both ways with it, they're flexible in it. I was thinking when you were saying that, could that be like a downside because they don't have an identity if they're able to do both? But if they have the ability to like take a game on or sit back, then they're prepared to play those different systems that you're going to have to against a Big Six team to get a draw or something, and then actually go at it against a lower opposition, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we look at what lessons we learned from the promoted 3 last year, Burnley had a very, very strong identity in the Championship where they were the defensive stalwarts. You couldn't get past them, but they didn't necessarily dominate possession. And then Sunderland massively changed their identity over the summer. Leeds, it took them a while, but they really, really changed their identity in sort of December time, and then went on an amazing run. I think you have to be willing to adapt. I think we've seen how, like, so many teams in recent years, like one example comes to mind is like Russell Martin's Southampton, when they came up promoted and they were like, no, we're going to play with the ball, like we're going to try and dominate possession, and we're going to we're going to pass out from the back, we're going to be really open, like really we're going to be exciting. And they kind of just were one of the worst Premier League teams in recent Premier League history.
Yeah,
so
it's hard though, man. Like, using Burnley as that example, what was it? They had one of the best defensive records ever in the Championship, and then last season they conceded the most goals in the Premier League. It's
Yeah, and to be fair, they had a lot of turnover. Like they didn't keep the goalkeeper, etc. A couple of the defenders went off, but it is really really tough. But that's where like they came up with an identity. They didn't really get the recruitment right, like Sunderland and Leeds did, and it cost them because they tried to stick with that identity, didn't end up having anywhere near enough going forward, and then the step up in quality, they would start conceding more with also the turnover in players. So yeah, it's a weird one, but I think we can only really sort of give predictions once the transfer window has closed, as last year proved.
yeah.
But
Can we
I
just
think
talk about?
I think Coventry have the positive, like they can take the positives.
I think yeah, I'm feeling confident with Coventry, but there are some transfer rumours that are a bit out there. I'd say. Have you seen the Ruben Loftus-Cheek one? Which I'm a bit like, is he on loan at AC Milan or did they actually buy him off Chelsea?
No, I think they bought him.
He
Um,
must be on
yeah, he's been
insane
there.
wage.
He's been there a couple of years now.
He must be
He
on
must. He
insane
can't
wages.
still be on. He can't still be on loan there.
He can't be.
I think what the reasoning behind that rumor is you will get linked with every player who has a Chelsea link. Like
Yeah, Tamori they're linked with as well.
I'm sure Ben Chilwell will be on his way to Coventry. Like that, anyone who has ever played for Chelsea and has
Mason
been in
Mount.
the same room as Frank Lampard, Mason Mount rumor was going around. Like it's just one of those where like tabloids need to fill up the papers over the summer, and one plus one equals three is their best maths.
It does very much feel like that. But yeah, I think from what you've said there, Coventry could have a good go at it. I it's just such an unknown as well though, because in my like football memory, I don't even remember Coventry as a Premier League side. I mean, it
I
doesn't
mean, I
show.
can more remember seeing their name on teletext than I can remember actual matches, given I was 8 when they were relegated.
Yeah, I must have been around the same. But the idea of going to Coventry and go into the Sky, what is the stadium called now? It's not the Sky Blue Stadium. It's not the Ricoh Arena anymore.
It's
I'm
not the
guessing.
Ricoh Arena for sure.
Was it? Here we go. The Coventry Building Society Arena. Love it.
Right, catchy title.
I'm so excited to go up there for away day in Coventry. Like, there's that classic peep show meme, isn't there? Where it's like, lovely place, obliterated by the war. So yeah. Anything else you want to touch on Coventry at all?
No, I think we touched on Frank Lampard. Like, I think we'll probably see this season. Is he in the same vein as Scott Parker? Really, really good Championship manager, but maybe not in the Premier League. We'll see. Like that Everton spell had highs and lows of keeping them up, but then ending it parting ways when they were in the relegation zone in 2022-23. So we'll see. I think we'll hopefully be able to tell more in the next season how good a manager Frank Lampard is, and then we'll see what incomings they make. But they've got the blueprint now. Up your physicality and add some tactical flexibility to be able to mix it with the big boys. But it's good to see Coventry back.
Yeah, and some of those fans are going to have they're going to have the best season, no matter what happens. Going up and down the country, going to the games, it's going to be great. Cool. Should we move on to Ipswich? So a team that we kind of know well from not last season but the season before.
Yeah, well, that's very takes us what you just said about the Coventry fans sort of takes us on really nicely to Ipswich, because I think, shower me if you think I'm wrong, but I think the last time they were in the Premier League, it was very much we 95% know we're going to go back down, but let's enjoy this season and prepare to come straight back up kind of thing. Like it was almost like the players that they bought and the signings that they made, the team that they cultivated in that Premier League season was sort of preparing for a Championship season this last season coming, so that they could get straight back up in the Premier League. We've seen it before where teams have gone let's throw the kitchen sink at staying in the Premier League, and then a lot of those players depart when, if the relegation happens at the end of the season, they go, oh, actually, I was never on board for a championship season, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Ipswich, it didn't really feel like they were more prepared, and I suppose the big thing is the managerial switch up with Ipswich.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a big shake-up. That have a couple of Ipswich friends at work, and they were like, every time it was like, oh, is McKenna going to go to Palace when Glasner said he was leaving? They're like, he can't leave. I was like, he can't leave, we need him. And then it was just like, he's left. And it was like, where's he gone? He's gone nowhere, he's just left. And they were devastated. Like, and I think we messaged each other when Gary Neal was announced, and it's a bit uninspiring, isn't it? I think I wouldn't be, not best pleased, but I wouldn't be over the moon if I was an Ipswich fan with Gary Neal coming in, I don't think. Even though he's a South Londoner, still a bit.
No, I mean, I believe he played for Norwich as well, so it's not particularly, he doesn't come in there with a particularly sort of lot of fandom on his side, let's say. I mean, I have a bit of a soft spot for Gary O'Neill because he did play for West Ham when we were last relegated and was part of the team that got us back up. And I do think he's maybe got a little bit of a harsh rep at Premier League level. Like, I think he did a really, really good job at Bournemouth, where he kept them after Scott Parker was sacked in August of the season in 2022. He took them. He took over, got them 15th, and then was surprisingly at the time replaced by Iraola. Obviously, we know how that worked out now as a great decision. But then he took the Wolves job after Lopetegui quit on the eve of the season. So he's taken over two teams right at the worst time possible after a pre-season when they don't have enough time in the transfer market to make any like quick changes. And he kept them up. Yeah, it was a bit of more of a struggle the season after, but you know, and then he's had 6 months at Strasbourg, but that's a impossible job to call how well he's done, given they just have Chelsea's cast off. So
literally that. But yeah, it's a hard one with Ipswich because I think they got a decent team. There's players.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
There's players there that didn't perform last time they were up, but where do the goals come from? That's my main question. There's no Delap this time round.
No, I mean, I think it's similar to what we were looking at with Burnley last year, where we were like, if they're gonna stay up, Jadon Anthony and Marcus Edwards were gonna need to excel at Premier League level. They were gonna really, really need to step up. If I look at Ipswich players, I'm going to look at like Jadon Philogene, Bilace and Jack Clark and see if they can do it at Premier League level, because those two I think are the most exciting talents for Ipswich.
That's it. Philogene has to have a good season this season, I think, in the Premier League. It's a lot of pressure put on him, and it might turn out to be like Hutchinson, because I don't think he performed too well for Ipswich when they were last in the Premier League. And he's kind of tearing it up a bit at Forest last season now. But
he had his moments, yeah. I mean, Philogene and Jack Clark are sneaky older than you think. Like, Philogene is 24 and Jack Clark is 25, so like they're kind of entering their peaks. Like they've been around the block for a while now, so they kind of need to. This is their chance, I think, to step up and make an impact at Premier League level.
Yeah, they have to. I can't believe he's that old. I still remember just the Rabona chip for Hull we did. And I thought he was like 17 when he did that, wasn't he? Something stupid.
It's probably quite a few years ago now.
Yeah.
But I mean, in defence, they've got carryover. They've got like Davis, Greaves, O'Shea, Walton. Like those players were in the Premier League last time. They were in the Championship. Like we'll see if they can step up. Maybe they don't have the quality to play to be Premier League level talent. Like we'll see. But it's no surprise that Ipswich were one of the best teams in the 25-26 Championship.
Yeah, I mean, they've dropped quite a bit of money on another centre forward in Emerson from Toulouse, which...
I mean, they kind of had to do something up top.
Yeah, talking to my Ipswich mates about that as well, and they were just like, yeah, we did that. It's like, you excited? It's like, don't really know. Don't know the keys. I was like, I don't know him either. So...
Mate, as someone who's been scarred by many a West Ham striker arriving fairly often from France and being a complete mixed bag, whether it would be Modibo Maiga or, Demba Ba coming over, like, they're
6 goals in 27 games in Liga. It's not the best, is it?
no, I mean I think it is gonna be a struggle because the managerial change is really what I look at. Like, that Kieran McKenna has got so many fans in the football world. Like, he's been linked to a whole host of jobs over the last few years while he's been at Ipswich. He's probably in Ipswich top 3 greatest managers ever, and that's some hefty comparisons with some absolute greats in their time. But they play a really, really good possession based style of play, but they face so many defensive setups in the Championship. They had to get really creative with how they were creating chances. They ended up top 3 for stats such as average possession per match, expected goals, big chances, and then also defensively XG conceded. So it's not really a surprise that they kind of made it a little bit. They drew it out a little bit longer than they had to, but they should have always been in the automatic promotion spots. Like, they ended up sealing it on the last day of the season quite comfortably with a 3-0 win, but they kind of should have had that wrapped up beforehand.
Yeah, the annoying thing here, though, is you can say all of that, but that was all under McKenna and, like, something they'd been building over multiple years. We have no idea. Well, Ipswich fans may have an idea, but we have no idea how Gary O'Neill is going to approach it. Is he going to look at stuff that's worked for him before in the Premier League and put that ahead of what he actually has player-wise in front of him? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really, really tough. Like, as I say, like, I don't know where I fall down on Gary O'Neill. Like, I do understand why he gets a bit of a bad stick. Like, his Wolves team at time were really, really hard to watch. Like, they weren't enjoyable at all, especially by the end. But he had his Bournemouth side clicking a little bit. They weren't spectacular at any point, but he turned them into a professional Premier League outfit after they'd been battered like 7-1 by Liverpool that caused the Scott Parker firing.
I think the thing with Gary O'Neill, though, that makes it a bit bad, it was like just the amount of like red cards and infighting that was happening at Wolves towards the end. Like, discipline was shocking, and I understand they probably had some feisty characters, players-wise, like Acuna maybe, but still, you've got to keep some.
Well, I mean, you also look what happened to Wolves after. Yes, they had that 7-game spell that kept them up, but then things just went from bad to worse. Outside of that, after Gary O'Neill left, like, it got better for 7 games, and then it got a whole lot worse the season after.
Yeah, but
so
like, was kind of infighting towards the end with Pereira as well, wasn't there?
Exactly, and it's like I don't think it was necessarily conducive to a great environment for a Premier League manager to exceed in, and that's not making an excuse for him. It's more just like, well, you do have to consider the whole picture when you like have a manager like that. Like, Wolves' ownership situation is atrocious. Like, they desperately want them out. We've just seen what they've done to Rob Edwards at the end of the season. Like, I don't think that is necessarily like a good environment. And they weren't signing a lot of players when O'Neill was there, so it was a tough job for him. And whereas this Ipswich one, he comes into it, I think, with whilst they're a promoted team, he comes into it with a team on the up, a team that majority of them have Premier League experience, have just done really, really well in the Championship, got automatic promotion. I don't think he's got many excuses if he fails at this job, really. Whilst they are a promoted, like, even if they go down, but have a really good fist of it. If they're relegated by March, then he's failed completely. But I think if they're in the conversation end of April, start of May, towards the business end of the season, if they are with a chance of staying up, then I think we've seen him. Then he should have done a pretty good job.
I think he's going to struggle. I just think he's got so much to come in on. And if he doesn't get like a good result in the first few games, I don't know Ipswich fans very, very well, but I could see him turning. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I checked the Reddit, and his announcement wasn't met with much happiness. Like, it wasn't met with much like optimism ever. It's a lot of, I think, speaking for Ipswich fans, it's a lot of, well, prove us wrong kind of thing, which is kind of how I felt when Lopetegui signed for West Ham. I was like, it's not who I would have gone for. Kind of prove me wrong. Like, I'm open to be like, I want you to do well. I'm open to you proving me wrong completely, because that will be positive thing for my club. But I know where I stand today, and it's not firmly in the in camp. So I think that is generally where Ipswich fans fall down on the line. They obviously want him to do well because they want their club to do well, but they're probably hedging their bets for now.
yeah. Any other players you want to stand out to you at all?
Just Leif Davis, I was a bit surprised that he stayed with Ipswich, because I thought he had a pretty good season in the Premier League, and he ended up creating the most chances for Ipswich last season with 69. So much of their build-up play when I was watching highlights came down the left side, like Leif Davis sort of cutting it, like mixing it up with Jaden Philogene and that. So yeah, just want to see what he does now. But now he's back in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's fair. It's weird. Usually, when a newly promoted team's been in the Premier League, like from a more recent point, I feel more confident in them to be able to give it a good go. But there's something about Ipswich. I'm just a bit worried for them. I'm more worried for them than Coventry, I think.
Yeah, I think it's the manager thing. I think
It's got to be
that's
anything.
the big thing for you, because at least Coventry have continuity there. They're taking all the positives of promotion, the continuity of the manager. I generally think they've got a fairly good spine they need a lot of signings, but I think they've got a fairly good spine, similar to Sunderland, where they've got like 3 or 4 players that they can keep in the starting 11 and then sort of fill around them. Ipswich, I think they'll have a more settled team that goes up, but I think the manager situation is just such a, I don't want to say black cloud, but like a grey cloud over the situation.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's just a real sort of like, we don't know how that's going to work. Like any new manager going into any new job, we don't know how that's going to work. Like it could be great, could be terrible, could be somewhere in between. Like they could just end up 19th and get relegated at the start of April or something. It's like, well, we're just back where we were, where the promoted teams didn't make as much of a fist of it. But
Yeah, it's just where did the goals come from? Last time they had the lap, and they were struggling to score goals. Still, the 2 games we played against them, when I speak to my Ipswich friends as well, they're a bit like those 2 games kind of summed up the whole season. They kind of battered us in both of them, but they couldn't score a goal, and we were clinical with 1 goal from Son, 1 goal from Mateta, and ended up getting 6 points off them, when really they should have had 6 points off us. It's just, I'm not feeling confident for Ipswich, unfortunately. But hey ho, might prove me wrong with some more signings.
the Oracle has spoken. Sorry, guys. Sorry,
Yeah.
Ipswich fans.
Do you want to move on to Hull then?
Before we start rambling about Hull, we've asked a fan to send in a voice note, and Kate has kindly provided us with her take on Hull's chances this season. So let's listen to her before you hear us ramble on.
Last season, I had a feeling we were going to go up. And this season, I have a feeling we're going to surprise a lot of people. I think if we keep, like I said in one of the other messages, if we keep the spine of our team, we get Charlie Hughes as one of our centre-backs, keep him, Regan Slater in midfield, Ryan Giles at left-back, Bloomy on the wing, McBurney up front at least, and then add some really, really good quality new players as well. I think we could be a force next season. I think we could do a Sunderland. I can see us doing really, really well. So I can see us in the top 10 next season.
The one to watch for next season for us is definitely Mohamed Bloomy, I think. I don't know if you saw the second leg playoff game against Millwall, but he came on, he changed the game, he scored an amazing goal. And and he's just been doing that all season, just quality goals. Scored a beautiful one against Sheffield Wednesday. Just setting up goals, and he makes a difference. He's easily a Premier League player. I think his dad was Algeria's widely regarded as Algeria's greatest footballer of all time. And he's I think he could do a Mahrez. I think he could do a Mahrez for what Mahrez did for Leicester for us next season. So yeah, he's super like quality player. Scores loads of goals, assists. He's tricky. He's got so much quality. Definitely Mohamed Baloumi one to watch for next season.
Yeah, let's do Hull. They had their own bit of a journey getting to the Premier League. So they were last in the Premier League in 2016-17. They went as far down as League One and then won that in 2021. In the 24, yeah, they went down to League One.
I didn't realise they went down to League One. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, COVID era, so you must have just been foggy the whole time. And then they finished in the 24-25 championship season. They finished 21st. They survived on goal difference alone, and then the story of all stories last season, they won the playoffs after having a transfer embargo last summer where they could only sign free transfers and do loan deals. And they brought in a completely unknown manager in these shores, in Sergei Yakirovich, and they ended up winning the playoffs.
Before, hadn't he? It was like Croatian and Serbian league, am I saying? Or am I just mixing Eastern Europeans together?
Just really bulking all the Balkans
generalising it there.
So don't worry, there's no controversy or wars over there. Just generalise that whole area.
No, that's just cheap beers and potatoes. That's all it is over there.
Diet of champions.
Yeah. Oh, good. But what was it? It's a bit of a miracle that they came up last year, because I think they had one of the worst expected goals in the whole league. Like, I think on their expected goals, they should have got relegated. I know we don't really like that as a stat, but I mean, it's a bit of foreshadowing with Sunderland as well, isn't it? Like, are they going to shit the bed this season with the worst expected goals or outperforming expected goals? Bollocks, do you know?
Well, I mean, they needed everything. Like they've had a whirlwind even after the playoff final. They had to raise £10 million in sales before the end of June, or to face a points deduction. So they had to sell their goalkeeper Ivor Pandor to Rangers and then bring in Jack Butland as his replacement. They sold Carl Joseph to Jack Butland.
I like Jack Butland. He was great at Palace, like he was. And keepers don't.
How many years ago was that?
A lot, but keepers don't really. It doesn't matter how old they get, does it? Let's be honest.
I don't know. I think Jack Butland is his
33
days.
For a goalkeeper? That's young.
It's fine. It's fine for a goalkeeper, but I don't think he's gonna. He doesn't inspire me with confidence. Let me just say.
I think he does. I think that's an okay newly promoted side signing. I think
Ivor Pandor had a little bit of vibe of like Robin Roofs to me, of someone like a little bit more unknown on the up, sort of in their career. Bit more sort of like spring in their step, whereas Jack Butland to me gives me a bit more Martin Dubravka vibes. Like, he's a known quantity, you know what you're getting with him, but like actually he's gonna concede. Like, I don't think he's gonna make the saves that will keep you up.
No, yeah, proved wrong. I think he does have a mistake in him, but I think he's a solid keeper. On his day, there were sometimes at Palace on his day he was unplayable. Like,
when did he play for Palace? It must have been at least 8 years ago.
It was ages ago. But I remember one of the Brighton games, he kept us in it big time. But I think that was one where we drew 1-1 and I left at 1-0 because I couldn't take it anymore. And I was very drunk and I was in the home end. It was a bit of a mess. But yeah, that's enough about that now. I mean, just on pure vibes, I think they've got the best kit of the newly promoted sides. Have you seen it?
No, I need to search it now.
So, for any listeners that haven't seen it either, it's like really classic. I mean, I got good colours to begin with, orange and black, but it's like classic. Not even got the tiger on it. It's just got HUFC?
Oh, okay. I'm not looking at the right one then. I'm looking at 26, 27. Oh, yeah. I have seen this one, the HUFC. Yeah, it's It's okay. It's a little bit like a rugby top for me.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like that. The collar could be a bit better on it, but I think it's pretty cool. Like, if Palace came up or Palace released a kit like that, I'd be like, yes, I like that. Like, got a bit of retro vibes to it. I'd be happy all around. So yeah,
This is
that's
Alex's new Sunderland, where he is just going to buy every Sunderland kit that gets released now.
I
He's not
want
going to
that.
buy every whole kit that gets released.
I want that pink Elvis Sunderland shirt so badly.
I
And
know
I'm
you're
gonna
going to buy it before you go on holiday. Go on
I'm gonna
holiday in America and wear it so nobody knows. Nobody's got any footage of you wearing this.
no, I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna cut the Sunderland crest off and put a Palace one on there instead.
Oh, you small man. Let's get back to Hull. Under Jukirovic, they played a very counter-attacking style of football, which understandable when you've got a team of free transfers and loans, and you survived last season on goal difference. But they flooded the box when the opportunity arrived, and they managed to get themselves like into the playoff mix, and then via the lottery of the playoffs. Obviously, we talk. There's one player to start with when talking about Hull City, and that's Ollie McBurney, who I'm gonna call it is the new David Nugent.
He's not a Premier League striker, is he? That's
He's
just
not like I looked at his split right of Premier League versus Championship. He has scored 13 goals in 96 Premier League appearances. He has scored 61 goals in 162 Championship appearances. He's just never shown it at a Premier League level consistently. He scored 17 goals and had 17 and 7 assists for Hull last year in the Championship, which as a free signing is incredible return, and none better than his 90th minute, 91st minute, or it was in injury time, right?
really good time,
Um, Playoff winning goal against Middlesbrough. Like he will go down in Hull City folklore. Well deserved. He's excellent at a Championship level. I just don't think he can cut it at Premier League.
yeah. No, I think he's a player you want in your squad and in your team for vibes. But I just
Yeah, keep him around. Bring him on for the last half hour in matches, sort of as like give him a run out sort of thing. But I just don't think. I think Hull need to be in that position where Sunderland were last year. We looked at that Sunderland squad and they were like, we were like, they need a lot to stay up, and they did. They did a lot in the transfer window to stay up. I think Hull were in that same position. I mean, I'm not too close to the finances after they've got rid of that 10 mil weighing on their neck before the end of June. They do have the promotion. It's always said the playoff final is the richest game in sport. They should have that money available to them, similar to how Sunderland did last year, reinvest in the squad and try and stay up. But they're gonna need a lot of changes to do so.
yeah, and they've not got. It's only Butland coming in so far, isn't it? They need players
Yeah,
quick. You'd think.
I mean they had Joe Gelhardt on loan from Leeds last year, 14 goals. I wonder if they can get him back, whether it's another loan or whatever. But I know Leeds have been patient with Joe Gelhardt with the hope that he can make an impact at Ellen Road, but they might think his time has sort of passed, and maybe he's one of those players that fits in the Championship a bit better, and maybe Leeds have progressed a bit far than give him those chances. So we'll see where he comes, if he comes back or not. And then another player that I like the look of is Charlie Hughes, a 22-year-old centre back. He's won Hull's Young Player of the Season in back-to-back seasons. He had the most defensive contributions in the Championship last season per 90 with 11.8. So one of those players gets his head on everything, like a little bit like Dan Ballard, gets his head on everything, makes all the crunching tackles that you want, clearances, etc. Like I'm interested to see how he'll do. Obviously, it's going to be backs against the wall a lot of the time for Hull this season. So if Charlie Hughes gets the chance to show himself, then we'll see a lot of him, because they will be facing a lot of chances.
So it's a season. Yeah, it's a season where defenders going to have to shine, isn't it? But
100%.
It's a hard one for Hull. I don't even want to go into the rumours because they're all over the place for people coming in from. I guess it's just because people are going to know they need to make the signings, aren't they? I'm
Yeah.
struggling for Hull. I just can't. I can't
No, I
see.
mean I mentioned it like they have to look at Sunderland and go, we need to replicate that as best we can. Like Sunderland required a complete overhaul. Yes, they kept a spine of their team with a couple of players, but they required a complete overhaul, and they managed to do it in one season, winning the playoffs and sort of reinvesting that money and that. So it's going to be really really tough. I don't know whether lightning can strike twice, but at least Hull, you have the blueprint laid out in front of you. Like Sunderland, we were much more dismissive of because we hadn't seen it for a couple of years. A team come up via the playoffs and even make a sort of remote fist of staying up. At least Hull now can look at that and go, right, well, we kind of know exactly what we need to do. We need to increase our physicality even more. We know we're not going to have a lot of the ball. That's fine. We didn't have a lot of the ball last year. We stick to we've practiced counter-attacking methods and flooding the box at the opportune times for the last season. So they know what they're going to be ready to go and do that again. Like sit in a low block and try and strike on the counter. Yes, it is going to be really really difficult.
I feel like we're saying the same things about Sunderland coming up via the playoffs last time. Like this time last season, we literally sat there saying very similar things, like how they did. But I think Sunderland had already brought in a flood load of players by that point.
Yeah, I mean Sunderland got their work done. They were busy all summer, but I think that Hull have been hindered by the start. They having to get rid of Pandor, not being able to sort of bring in anyone in before they could sort of get new players in. So it's they've been set up to sort of struggle as much as possible. I don't think any Hull fan is under the impression that they're definitely going to that anyone even thinks that they'll remotely stay up, even though we have Sunderland last year. I think everyone is more realistic about Hull's chances. If you listen to anyone who does podcasts and content about the Championship, they're kind of completely shocked that Hull are even in the Premier League, and unless they completely overhaul their team, they would have a very very tough time of surviving it.
Yeah, just thank God it wasn't all that went off.
Thank God.
Thank God. But yeah. Oh, anything else you want to touch on Hull? I feel I'm worried for them as well. I feel like Hull and Ipswich are the two that could really struggle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair at this point in time. At the time we're recording, we don't necessarily know as much what to expect. Those two have sort of clouds hanging over them. Ipswich, the managerial change. Hull, how they reinvigorate a squad that only a season ago finished 21st in the Championship and now has to compete at a Premier League level. Whereas Coventry, they have had sort of progression over the years. They were in and about the playoffs when Mark Robins was there. They fell down a little bit, but Frank Lampard got them kind of straight back up into the playoffs, and they didn't come up. Weren't successful last time in the playoffs, but then they came back in the Championship and won it, sort of thing. I think that's naturally going to be more of a positive outlook on and a positive prediction of how Coventry will fare. They feel definitely much more prepared as a club. They haven't had the overchange. They don't have necessarily as much to do in the transfer window as the other two probably do. So we'll see. I think it's completely understandable that there's more optimism about Coventry's chances than there is about Ipswich and Hull at this time of writing. But we saw last year, Sunderland absolutely made us eat our words. Let's Ipswich Hull. Let's see it. Prove us wrong. I think we both gave Sunderland so much credit at the end of the season for proving us wrong and making us eat our words. We'll be the first people to be if Ipswich and Hull or one of them stays up, we'll be the first people to sing your praises. So
yeah, That's it, isn't it? We can talk as much as we want, but we know nothing.
At the end of the day, we're just two guys chatting shit.
Absolute pub crunch. Cool. Okay, we've had you an hour there. We've given you as much detail as we can on all of them. So yeah, anything else you want to touch on, Tom, before we wrap up?
Just shout out to the sources that I went through on this, brushing up on my knowledge on these three teams. Adam Cleary on YouTube, the ITV documentary on YouTube, Coventry City, The Resurrection. Stats from... Yeah, definitely watch that. It's only 25 minutes, so it's quite easy, digestible. Stats from like FOTMob, Transfermarkt, FB Ref, The Possessor's View on YouTube, Luke Penning on YouTube, and Half Space on YouTube, and the Sportsman Untitled podcast with Hull podcaster William Young helping me fill in the gaps.
Nice. Happy days all round. Cool. So feel free to rate and review the podcast and tell your friends. And follow us on socials on TikTok, Blue Sky, Reddit at other14fc podcast, and email in at other14fcpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, otherwise we'll see you next time for a look into the top half finishes.